Welcome to this episode of Practice English Studio, the place where you learn how to sound natural and confident in real English conversations. And today we are looking at a really practical guide. It's called How to Turn Small Talk into Deep, Meaningful Conversations.
Yeah, and our mission for this episode is super simple. We want to give you a real practical toolkit.
Exactly, a toolkit to help you move past that awkward surface level small talk, right? So you can build real friendships and just sound totally natural doing it.
Right. Because even though this guide was originally made for people learning how to speak English more naturally, the psychology in it is, well, it's universal.
Oh, absolutely.
It really doesn't matter what language you speak or, where you live. The reasons why human connections fail are basically the same everywhere.
Yeah, and let's just be honest about that failure for a second. I mean, have you ever been stuck in a conversation that just feels totally flat?
Oh, all the time.
Right. You're just standing there asking questions and they are answering,
Hmm.
but you're just trading facts.
Yeah, like a robot.
Exactly. There's zero real connection happening. You're both just kind of, waiting for the clock to run out so you can politely say, "Oh, I need to go get a drink of water."
Yep, the classic escape plan.
So today, we are going to figure out exactly why that happens and we're going to fix it.
And to fix it, we really have to look at why conversations die in the first place. The guide points out that most interactions just crash and burn at the small talk phase
Right.
because people get stuck in what the book calls question mode.
Question mode. Yeah.
It becomes this really rigid loop. Question, answer, question, answer.
It's awful.
Yeah.
You ask a question, they answer.
Yeah,
And then you panic a little bit, right?
totally. You just blank.
So you ask another question and they answer again. It feels less like a friendly chat and more like an interview or a police interrogation.
Yeah, you're just checking boxes on a list. What is your name? Where do you live? What is your job?
Right. And the other person doesn't feel understood at all. They just feel like you're studying them.
And when our brains feel studied like that, we naturally put our walls up.
We get defensive.
Exactly. Our answers get shorter and shorter. Yep. No, it's fine.
Because you aren't asking them to share a real feeling. You're just asking for data.
Right. It's just raw data.
It reminds me of playing tennis, but a really stressful, terrible version of tennis.
Okay, wait. How so?
Well, when you're caught in awkward small talk, your brain goes into this kind of panic mode. The silence feels scary. You just want the ball out of your court so you can stop feeling anxious.
Oh, I see.
So you just smash a fact-based question over the net like, do you like your job?
Smash.
Smash.
Yeah,
Where are
exactly.
you from? Smash. You aren't actually enjoying the game. You're just terrified of dropping the ball.
That is a great example. And that fear of dropping the ball is exactly what this guide tries to fix.
Right.
The big change you have to make is to stop just trying to get information. You have to move toward building a real connection.
Which means using some personality, right? Not just data.
Exactly. Information is just data. It's super easy to just say what city you live in, but a real connection requires a little bit of feeling.
And that is super scary for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, firing off endless questions feels safe. If I am the one asking all the questions, the spotlight is on you.
you're in control.
Right. I control the pace and I don't have to share anything personal about myself.
But that safety is exactly why the conversation dies.
Yeah, it really is a trap.
So to get out of that trap and bridge the gap between just saying hello and actually having a good conversation, the guide introduces something called the bridge method.
The bridge method. Okay.
It's a really simple framework to break that whole interview style.
Let's talk about how to actually use it. But before we look at the steps, I have to confess something.
Uh-oh. What is it?
I have a really bad habit with the very first step of this method. When someone is talking to me at a party or something, half my brain is just stressing out, planning what I'm going to say next.
You don't want an awkward pause.
Right. So I just do the fake nod.
Ah,
I completely forget to actually react to what they just told me.
you are definitely not the only one who does that. When we feel nervous, our brain is just too busy to actually listen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why the very first step in the bridge method is to pause and react.
React. Okay.
Before you ask your next question, you have to show that you actually care about what they just said.
So, like, how do I do that?
It can be super simple. Just say, oh, that's interesting, or wow, really?
Just a natural reaction.
Exactly. It shows the other person that you are actually listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Okay, so I force myself to stay in the moment and react. I stop the fake nodding.
Right.
But reacting by itself doesn't keep the conversation going, does it? Like,
Okay.
if someone says they work in a bank and I just say, wow, interesting, the ball just kind of dies.
Yeah, the conversation will still stop.
Hmm.
Which brings us to step 2 of the bridge, expand.
Showspanned.
This is where you add a little bit of your own perspective. You share a thought or an observation so it becomes a two-way street.
Okay, can you give me an example?
Sure, you could say, I've always thought working in a bank must be super high pressure. Or, I read that banking is changing a lot lately.
So this is where I have to open up a little bit. I have to just share an opinion instead of just asking for a fact.
Exactly. You are giving them something to work with. And once you expand, you move to the third step, which completes the bridge.
Which is
Redirect. You guide the conversation forward, usually by asking a deeper question.
so it flows naturally from what I just said.
Yes. So after you say the industry seems high pressure, you ask, what made you choose that kind of job?
I see. Okay, I really want to try this out to show how different it feels.
Let's do it.
Let's do a role play. I will be the one answering and you ask the questions.
Sounds good.
Let's do the bad version first, the one where we don't use the bridge at all and we just play terrible tennis.
Okay, ready. So, what do you do?
I work in marketing.
Oh, nice. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Cool.
And boom, the conversation is dead.
Totally dead.
I gave you almost nothing, but your questions were totally closed off too. I didn't have any room to say anything else.
Right, it was just facts.
Okay, so now let's run the exact same situation, but this time you use the bridge method. React, expand, redirect.
Got it.
I work in marketing.
Oh, interesting. I feel like marketing is one of those jobs that is always changing with new apps and trends. What made you decide to get into it?
Well, actually, I started in it because I was studying psychology in college,
Mm.
and I really loved learning about how people make choices.
And we can pause the role play right there.
Wow. Yeah, it feels totally different.
Completely different energy. I give you a runway.
Exactly. A huge runway. I wasn't just giving you a fact for your checklist. I was invited to share a real story about my background in psychology.
And that runway is the whole secret. Once you build that bridge, you are finally out of the interview trap.
Thank goodness.
But the guide actually goes further. Once you build the bridge, how do you naturally keep the conversation going deeper without being weird?
Right, without it feeling like therapy all of a sudden.
Exactly. So the source shares 3 specific patterns you can use to guide the chat.
Okay, well, what's the first one?
The first shift is moving from facts to feelings.
Facts to feelings.
Yeah. Small talk is obsessed with facts. We ask, where do you work? Or where do you live?
Because it's easy.
Right, but facts are dead ends. So if you want to shift it, you need to ask how they feel about those facts.
Okay, so instead of what do you do? What should I ask?
You shift it to, what do you enjoy most about your work?
Oh, I like that. It changes how their brain has to work.
Exactly. Remembering a fact is just basic memory. But explaining what you enjoy requires them to actually think and reflect.
Which naturally gives you a much better, more interesting answer.
Yep. They have to use a totally different part of their brain.
You know, I've noticed something really similar when we talk about time and small talk.
Like how long someone has done something.
Yeah. If I'm at a coffee shop and I ask someone, how long have you lived in this city? The conversation usually just dies.
Because they just give you a number.
Exactly. They say 5 years, and then we just stare at each other.
Right, because you basically ask for a timestamp, which
Yeah.
is just another boring fact.
So how do we fix that?
That is the second pattern. You shift from the present to a past story.
A past story.
Humans love stories. Our brains are actually wired to connect when we hear a story.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so you take that same topic, but you change the angle. Instead of asking how long, you ask, what brought you to the city in the first place?
Oh, that instantly asks for a story. They can't just say 5 years. They have to say, well, 5 years ago, I packed up my car because I got this crazy job.
Right. It gives them a blank canvas to paint on.
That makes perfect sense. And it really ties into the third pattern, too.
Moving from general to personal meaning.
Right. I always think about this one like a camera lens.
A camera lens. How so?
Well, asking a general question like, do you like traveling, is like taking a super wide picture of a landscape.
Okay, I see.
It's a nice picture, but there's no real focus.
Yeah.
The answer is usually just an automatic, yeah, I love traveling.
Which is boring.
Exactly. But if you shift to personal meaning, if you ask, what was your most memorable trip? You are zooming the camera lens way in. It's a close-up.
I love that camera analogy. You are zooming in on something that actually matters to them.
Yeah, it gets them to talk about a specific memory.
And you can use this anywhere. Like at work. Instead of asking, what department are you in?
By asking what?
What is the most exciting project you're working on right now?
Oh, that's so much better. You are moving away from cold facts and moving toward the real experience.
Exactly.
Okay, but I want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
We are talking a lot about emotions and deep stories and personal meaning.
Right.
But let's be realistic. Is this always the right move? Like, what if I'm just in the break room at work and my coworker's just trying to heat up their soup in the microwave?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Does every single conversation need to be this deep emotional journey? Like, some people just want to be left alone, right?
Right. That is a super important point. You have to read the room.
Read the room. Okay.
Going deep is not something you force on every person you meet. Connection is always an invitation, not a demand.
So it's an offer.
Yes. If you ask a deeper question and the person gives you a short, one-word answer, or they are literally pointing their feet toward the door,
You stop.
you do not keep pushing.
Right. And I say, what brought you to this company? And they just shrug and say, the free coffee. I probably shouldn't stare into their eyes and ask, but what is your deepest passion in life?
Please do not do that. That is exactly how you make people run away from you.
Good to know.
Yeah, if they do that, you just laugh, agree that the coffee is good, and let the conversation end naturally.
But what if they are just shy? Like, they want to talk, but they are quiet.
That's different. If they give you a thoughtful answer, even if they speak really quietly, that is your green light.
That means they accepted the invitation.
Exactly. So the depth of the conversation really depends on their comfort level, not just your desire to use these new tricks.
Okay, that takes a lot of pressure off.
And to make sure you keep them comfortable, the guide shares 3 small habits you should always use.
3 habits. What's the first one?
We actually already talked about the first one. It's from the bridge method. React first.
Right. Always show you were listening before you jump to the next thing.
Exactly. The second habit is also super important. You must share a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I see. Because if I just keep asking deep questions, what's your most memorable trip? What do you enjoy most?
Yeah.
But I never talk about myself.
You become the interrogator again.
Yeah. It becomes totally weird and one-sided.
Opening up makes the other person open up. It's like a trade. If they share a story about a hard day at work, you have to match that.
So I should say something like, I totally get that. I had a project last month that was super stressful.
Yes. If you just nod and then ask another deep question, they will feel like they shared too much.
Like they are exposed.
Exactly.
Okay, so react first and share a little about yourself. What is the third habit?
The third habit is usually the hardest one for people today. You have to slow down and let the conversation breathe.
Oh man, I am so bad at that. Silence in a conversation feels so scary.
It does. If there is a 2-second pause, we totally panic.
Right. My heart starts racing and I just blurt out some random thought about the weather just to fill the quiet.
But think about what's actually happening in their brain. If you just asked a really good, deep question, a question about a feeling or a memory, they need time to think about it.
Because it's not a simple fact.
Right. They have to form a real answer. If you panic and fill the silence, you ruin the exact connection you were trying to build.
Wow, that's so true. I'm interrupting their thinking process.
Yeah. So just slow down your voice a little bit.
Yeah.
Lower your tone. Be okay with the pause. It shows that you are confident.
It tells them, hey, there's no rush, I'm actually listening.
Exactly. It creates a safe space.
So, for everyone listening to us right now, let's quickly review what we've talked about today.
Good idea.
We started by realizing that conversations die because we fall back into question mode.
Right. We just ask for basic facts.
And we fix that by using the bridge method. We react to what they say, we expand by sharing our own thought, and we redirect with a good question.
And we also talked about how to guide the chat by moving from facts to feelings.
Yep, and moving from present numbers to past stories.
And zooming the camera lens from general ideas to personal meaning.
All while making sure we read the room, share a little about ourselves, and most importantly, don't panic when it gets quiet.
You got it. And the guide actually gives a direct challenge that you can try out today.
Oh, I love a good challenge. What is it?
The next time you are in a regular, casual conversation, try to catch yourself. Stop asking standard interview questions.
Right. Build the bridge instead.
Build the bridge and invite them to share a story. You will be amazed at how fast a boring chat turns into a real fun connection.
That is a great challenge. Practice English Studio is all about making real connections in English, so this is perfect.
It really is.
But as we finish up this episode, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, what is it?
We live in a world right now where everything is done through screens. We work from home, we send texts instead of calling, and we even talk to AI bots all day.
That's very true.
Because of that, our real-life social skills are getting weak. We are forgetting how to read body language and how to just talk to people face to face.
Yeah, we are losing the habit.
So, what if knowing how to have a deep, unscripted conversation isn't just a cool trick for parties?
What if it's more than that?
Right. What if, in the next 10 years, the ability to look someone in the eye and build an authentic bridge becomes the most important human skill of all?
Wow. That is a powerful thought.
So think about that the next time you are waiting in an elevator, staring down at your phone.
Yeah, look up.
Exactly. What invisible bridge will you try to build instead? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.